Hello everyone, I'm doing this video because in order to make sure that my Halloween video was done on time, I started working on that immediately after the Jake Long video, and now it looks like I won't actually be able to get another video done in time before that one's out. So just to sort of fill the gap and make sure you don't go basically a full month without anything from me, I want to start a new series I've had an idea on for a while now, Shooting Stardust. This is where I talk about something, review that I can't do like a structured review on, whether it's like a movie I saw in theaters, what I thought of it, or in this case, a game that I don't have means to record. Well, Azure Striker Gunvolt 2. The first game came out in 2014, developed by Intercreates as a spiritual successor to the Mega Man Zero games that I love. I was super excited for it. Great game. Sequel, also great. Got notes to talk about here, so just wanted to sort of give my thoughts about the game. Okay, first thing I have, the story of the game. I mean, it's still a Mega Man game at heart, so you can't really expect too much from it. More on the Zero side, where there is story, there is character, and I do enjoy that. But actually, the first thing that, one of the things that Intercreate said during development that I think holds so true to this game is that it's the 0-2 to the first game 0-1, in that it's basically the same gameplay-wise, but it's improved a little bit, and in this case, the story is worse. Okay. So, I don't want to spoil the ending of the first game, because it is actually a pretty good ending. But basically, the end result is Gunvolt's no longer working for Quill. He's out on his own with Jewel, who is different than she was in the first game. And in the first stage, we are reunited with Zonda from the first game, who is back, which is kind of a stupid thing. I don't think making the main villain in the second game a minor character from the first is a very good idea. But she's back, she's got her own set of bosses called the Seven, not 8, no, 7. And they trap they trap Jewel in a mirror shard, break her up, and split her among everyone, because they've got some plan for her that you obviously don't know by the beginning of the game. It doesn't actually affect Jules Lumen's usage in gameplay. If you die, she still comes out if you've been nice to her. So it is purely a story thing. And at the same time, the Seven have also kidnapped Copen's sister, Mittel. Yeah, Copen's a big part of this game now. He's a playable character. That's actually pretty cool. And he plays out, I like the way he plays, but I got more gameplay stuff later. And that's basically it for the story for a while. There's not too much else to say. Characters, the same ones, same. Some of them are the same, as before, Gunvolt is exactly the same. Nothing too different about him. Jewel has gotten really yandere. Like, not full-blown I will kill anyone who looks at Gunvolt, but she got very protective of him the times since, and I don't quite believe it, simply put. Maybe that's... I hear that there are, like, a couple hints of that in the original in, like, the revised translation of the original game that I haven't played. Finally coming to the 3DS. And, speaking of the revised original translation of the first game, they cut out something I really liked from the original translation. I hate it. In this game, everyone calls Gunvolt GV. That's his nickname. But the first game actually sort of took that and made it a nickname in Jeeves. I really liked that, but they don't use it here. And also, one guy used that in the original game, and everyone here calls him GV. Come on. It's the same number of syllables. Say his full name. Come on. Alright, but since Gunvolt's no longer working for Quill, he's got his own new set of helpers. He's got Xiao, Chow. I'm not too fluent in Chinese, so I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. And what's her name? God damn it. I always forget the girl helper's name. First game was Monique. Second game is, shit, I don't remember. But she has the ability to see Jewel when, like, people without Septima can't, and they don't explain that because she doesn't have Septima. I don't get it. Are they hinting at something there? I thought it was going to come back later in the game, like twist, but no, fine. These new guys are basically your replacements for Gino and Monique from the first game, and I miss them. I miss the guys originally because you had the idea that Gunvolt's worked with these guys for a while. They all know each other very well. But here it's like, yeah, he knows them to the same level, but he hasn't been with them for that long. It hasn't been that long since the first game. I think a real missed opportunity is, I know after the ending of the first game, Quill was probably like in a panic. But, time's passed, they probably have gotten their shit back together again. I kind of would have liked if, in response to Zonda and the Seven's plans to exterminate all the humans, same villainous motivation as the first game. And if Quill sort of stepped up, they were dealing with it on their own, and at some point Gunvolt and Copen ran into them. It would have been a good chance for a reunion. That's the word. Reunion. This game. But then there's also Copen. He has his own set of characters, sort of. They're sort of like equivalents. To replace Xiao and girl's name, I can't even think of anything funny to refer to her as. He's got Nori, who reminds me a lot of Blood Leopard from Excel World for some reason. She doesn't act like her. I think it's just a look. But she's sort of like his, I don't want to say caretaker, because, she is a badass. Drives a motorcycle. Yeah, it's probably it, but, whatever. She's cool. The phone is ringing. Listen, I'm talking. I can't pick it up. Okay, so in the same way that Xiao and Girl were merged together into Nori, Jewel is split into two characters now. He's got, as I said earlier, Copen's little sister, Mittel, who is mute. Mute in the hospital, basically, and frequently kidnapped. Twice in the span of one game. That's a little sad. And he's got his robot, orb thing that accompanies him on all his missions, sort of handles his weapons, Lola. And because they get a mirror shard that contained a jewel, and it resonates, Lola gets the ability to turn into, a girl like Lumen. It's really fucking stupid. And honestly, I don't think it ever amounts to anything. She turns into a girl in, one cutscene. They use that picture whenever she's talking in gameplay, but she stays the robot orb thing the whole time. And maybe if you die as Copen, she comes back same way as Jewel will, but it didn't happen. I'll get on that later. And then, there's the boss characters. Zonda has a true form, which is kind of weird. The one thing about Zonda that was memorable from the first game is that they were, I don't know, they didn't have a gender, basically. Or they switched between male and female all the time. And here it's no, that was just I don't even know what it is, but Zonda has a true form, and it's a little girl, very specifically a girl. It's a weird idea, and it brings up, why are there so many little girls in this game? Because Jewel's still here. There's Mittel, there's Lola's human form, and there's Zonda's true form. I don't get it. What happened? I have the theory that it's since Lumen was sort of was an idol in the Japanese pop idol sense. That's big in Japanese culture, so they tried to capitalize on it with 3 more of them. Stupid. And the bosses, the first game, they're not the first game's bosses I barely remember. I remember some of their designs, mostly because they're in Mighty Gunvolt, which I've played so many times. But the only character I remember from the first game is that there was the lazy guy who was kind of funny, and then there was fucking Gamagori, who talks in ye old English, and that was also pretty funny. I remember the characters a little better here. Still not too good on their names, but I remember them. There's Tessio, who is sort of the evolution of the lazy guy from the first game, in that he's also internet savvy, and he accomplishes this by spouting memes and hashtags and bad grammar all over the place, and it's ridiculous. It's so over the top, I can't help but laugh at it. Like, during the boss rush, when you fight him again, if you're playing as Gunvolt, he literally says, spoiler alert, you gon' die. That's funny to me. There's another guy who speaks in rhyme the whole time, and he has such a weird flow with the Japanese voices. It's actually kind of, and it's actually pretty fun, I keep saying that. I'll stop. I remember Tenjian, I remember that name, but I don't know too much about him besides the fact that he's Zonda's brother. Okay. And then there's this girl who over the course of the game develops a battle crush on Gunvolt, the same way that, like, I want to say Leviathan from the Zero games, just because a girl, but the way she's so intent on killing him sounds more like Fafnir. Anyway, the same way that the Guardians developed a crush on Zero in those games. She does, I kind of like that. And there's a weird structure to the bosses. Like, whether you play as Gunvolt or Copen, you fight a different set of 4 originally. But then it's not like you unlock another set. After that, you go to the mid-stage where you fight another one of them. And then it's straight on to the fortress. Like, the first 2 stages of the fortress, you fight another one of the 7. And then on the final stage, you get a boss rush of the first 4. It's a very weird structure, and it leads to there being less stages in the game in one character's playthrough. But overall, if you play as both of them, it adds up to same length as the first game. So I guess that's sort of a disappointment, but it's not really a downgrade, so whatever. Yeah, Copen. And he's a playable character, and if you didn't like Gunvolt's sort of, run and tag playstyle from the first game, Copen may be a little more to your speed. His weapon damages enemies with a standard shot. He's a little more Mega Man. He gets a weapon from each boss, and there's one that's blank at the end of the game, and that's Shovel Knights, right? If you have a Shovel Knight amiibo, you can fight him. If you beat him as Copen, you get a weapon, right? It's gotta be what that is. But besides that, Copen, instead of like tagging enemies with shots, Copen dashes into them, and then all of his attacks home in on them. It's different. It feels similar to Gunvolt, but it's also different enough that it's worth playing as a second character. He's a lot of fun. I like playing as him. But I don't think they completely, formalized him, because he is really easy. Gunvolt, there's a mechanic in both games, in case you don't know, called Pervasion, where if you're not attacking and an enemy comes toward you, and an attack comes toward you, you'll automatically dodge it. But it'll take away some of your electrical energy or one of your bullets if you're Copen. And it's sort of balanced for Gunvolt, because if you're attacking, then Pervasion doesn't work. But if you're Copen, it always does, and you can refill the bullets just by double tapping down. So he ends up avoiding most of the attacks of the game. It's very easy to go through a stage without ever taking actual health bar damage, though Pervasion does still count as a hit for your score. And then also the upgrade system. Gunvolt's works exactly the same as it did in the first game, except for the fact that in the first game, weapons were divided either how the tags worked, like sometimes they would flow on the ground, sometimes you'd be able to charge them, sometimes you'd fire one and they would fire a circle all around it, and how many enemies you could tag at once. This game separates the two, so you can get a weapon you like while also having 6 tags available for it, which is convenient. But other than that, it's really the same for Gunvolt. Copen is mostly the same. He has a jacket that you can install upgrades into, and those upgrades work a similar way to Gunvolt's upgrades. But I went through the entire game as Copen, and I never got enough materials to buy any upgrade, and that's kind of stupid. They really, I guess they're expecting you to like replay stages, but I don't know why you would unless you really want to get a high score. So they really should have lowered the requirements because I can't buy anything. Stages. They're basically the same. They feel shorter. Like a lot of them don't have like 3 sections to them. They're more like 2. So, that's fine by me. The stages they take like 10 minutes already, so I don't mind that change. They're fun. They're a lot of fun stages. Like I said, Copen gets his own unique ones for the 7. And so the 7, and, I hear, there's no water level from the first game. I'm so thankful about that. There is another water level, but it's much easier. Like that water level in the first game, I never get through that thing without dying. In fact, most of the time, unlike my recent replay, when I tried to replay it, I just stopped because I couldn't beat that stage. Don't know how I did it the first time. Yeah, that was a dumb stage, and this one's a lot better, but at the same time, I also kind of missed the light level from the first game, where you had to like change the color to reveal or make certain platforms disappear. But they sort of have a similar thing with Tessio's level in this game, where certain platforms appear or disappear whether or not you're using your flash field. It's clever. It's fun. Best upgrade to the stages, there's nothing hidden in them anymore. In the first game, you had to collect 7 jewels across the stages in order to unlock the true ending. Here, they don't have to do that. Thank God. That was stupid. Though they make fun of it here once. Tessio's stage has like one path that's kind of difficult to get to. But since I did his stage like second, it was super handy. Why did I say super handy? That's something else in my mind. But since I played his stage like second, I hadn't fully decided whether or not there were hidden items in the game yet. So I ran over there, and I'm like, okay, cool, I found a hidden area. That's got to be good. And Tessio says, like, oh, were you looking for something? Ah, you loser. The boss fights are basically the same as the first game. And that's sort of the thing I really loved about the first game. That idea that bosses were following a really certain but difficult pattern. And that knowledge that if you practiced enough, you memorized all their attacks, you could get really good at this game. I love that. It's a very tactical sort of approach, though going a little nuts is still pretty handy. The only boss that there's a couple bosses I don't like, though. There's one guy that has like a giant robot helping him. And it doesn't really matter if you kill the robot, besides the fact it takes a lot of damage, because it will just come back eventually. And it's not like you have to kill it in order to damage its host. So it's just sort of annoying. You need to deal with 2 people at once, and the robot has it really difficult to avoid attacks without pervasion. The girl who has a crush on Gunvolt, once you get to the second phase of the fight, she's like always kneeling. She's always like sort of like crouching, and you can't hit her with your tags until she stands up after an attack, at which point you're probably going to be dodging. And then there's her third phase where she's jumping all over the place, and again, it's super hard to hit her. Though I hear she takes damage on her own from that, I didn't notice. And then there's also this girl who uses hair as her attack. She's pretty easy, but if you're playing as Copen, go for her first, because her weapon is super fucking useful. It lasts for a while, it does a lot of damage, and you can aim it in multiple directions. It's a great weapon. Okay then, gameplay improvements. Not too much. I said I think the upgrade system is a little better than the first game, at least when you're talking about Gunvolt. It's mostly the same. The only thing I can think of that's changed is the kudos system. In the first game, well, in both games, if you collect items, you kill enemies, then you get points. But if you take a hit, then you lose them all, so you really have to play it perfectly. This game has a couple options. This game has like a couple options each stage how you want it to work, but the default is you can take 3 hits before it goes away. It makes my life a lot easier. To the point, one time as Copen, I actually managed to get 1,000 kudos and get like Lola appearing in her human form. I got the Awakened Anthem. I got cool theme. It felt good. Then, take another hit and there it go. Oh no, I didn't. I cashed the points in a checkpoint. Anyway, so that's a little better. And since that was like the one thing people will not stop talking about the first game, yes, they did. All the conversations from the Japanese version are here in this game. It's kind of annoying, because it's the same thing they do in Mighty Number 9. Just to use a Mega Man example, where characters will talk to you during the stage, but it works a lot better in that game, both because it's a high resolution screen, so you're not competing for screen real estate. And because Mighty Number 9 is a lot slower of a game than Gunvolt. So, like, it usually appears during a boss fight where your character, the Gunvolt or Copen, and the boss are having, like, a constant dialogue. But you're focusing on the boss. You can't read it. And also in Mighty Number 9's case, they were also spoken in English, so I didn't have to draw my attention away to read the subtitle. I could just hear and understand it. In this game, they all speak in Japanese. So, I really don't mind the fact that they cut those out in the English version of the first game, because they're super distracting. You can turn them off here, so that's fine. I want to say there was one other, downgrade from the original game. I don't remember it, though. Okay, the length, as I was talking, if you play through both Gunvolt and Copen's story and get both of their true endings, then you're rounding in at about 6 hours. That's about the length I had in the first game. Though I'm also willing to concede that the first game, that 6 hours, was a lot of failures. Because these games are not very easy to pick up. You do have to, there's a learning curve, you have to get good at them. So this game is probably longer than the first game, but you have to do both stories in order to get to that length. That's a bit stupid. Okay, so, yeah, I think Gunvolt 2 is a really good game, but it is pretty dependent that you like the first game. If you don't, you're most likely not going to like this one. It's, looks just as good, sounds just as good. I really like the remix of Reincarnation they use here. I don't remember any of, the non-Lumen tracks, but I'll probably enjoy some of the other ones on YouTube soon enough. Now that the Striker pack is out, you can buy both of them in a physical cartridge for $30, I think. Yeah, that sounds right, and I like it, but if you're not sure, play the demo of the first game. That's definitely the better approach. Okay, so I want to get the thoughts out of the way because from now on, spoilers. I'm going to be talking about the ending of the game now, so only keep watching if you've either beaten the game yourself or you don't care if I spoil it. Okay, so at the final boss in the final stage, you fight Zonda's not true form, which you didn't fight in the first game, so it's kind of it would be cool to finally face them, except it's just a more hectic version of the fight from Mighty Gunvolt. So, whatever. Love that game. And it's a little challenging, but it's not ridiculously hard. The only thing that's worth mentioning is this super attack Phantasmagoria, where they go straight Toho on you, both the male and female form come out. One of them's shooting bullets all over the place. One of them's got spinning lasers, and I legitimately don't know how you dodge it. And also the screen's upside down, and they're always flying all over the place, so it's super hard to hit them during it. I mean, it's a good enough fight, but it's a little bit lacking. Then you get to the actual final boss, which is Zonda's true form. Okay, so the reason that she wanted to get Jewel in the mirror and kidnap Mittel is that Mittel was originally born with Lumen, but because her dad, something, I don't know, or maybe it wasn't her dad, but someone forcibly removed it from her, and that's why she can't talk anymore. And then they made Jewel to be a host for it, but then Jewel didn't work the way they intended in the first game. So Zonda decided to like take Jewel, and I guess Middle has to be there to like so Zonda could merge with Jewel and become the final boss of both 0, 1, and 2. You know, it's stupid. I didn't really realize it until I was talking about it here, but Jesus Christ, it's stupid. I don't get it. Fight itself is like the prime example of get good at this fight. You can avoid all of their attacks if you know how to do it. And that was super fun. But then you get to the final phase. For Kopen, it's not too hard. She does an attack that summons all of the 7 to do like one attack. The same way that Vile brought in all the guys from 0-3 in one of his attacks in 0-4. Not too difficult. The real one is with Gunvolt. When you get to the final phase, then she stops taking damage, and she starts sending out like, these waves. The attack's called Paradise Lost. I remember that. And you pervade out of them, so you don't take damage unless you like purposefully let your electricity meter overheat. What happens if you equip an item that doesn't have pervasion? Do you like take damage from that, or do they like automatically make you pervade? Because if you could take damage from that, that'd be really stupid because you have to go through it. And basically, Gunvolt saying like, no, I can't keep Jewel help me. No, I can't keep relying on her forever. And then he remembers her saying once like that my song is in your heart now. And then you have to start singing Reincarnation. Which, okay. Part of me thinks like, okay, that's kind of cool in sort of a like clap your hands if you believe sort of way. It's kind of fun, but a couple issues. First off, this is a handheld game. What do you do if you get to the final boss and you're like on the bus or something? People fucking stare at you like you're a goddamn lunatic if you start singing in Japanese, no less. Second, what if your microphone is broken? Like, seriously. Then you're fucked, I think. Maybe it like skips past it, but I don't think it does. Like, my first time, it took me a while to figure out what you're supposed to do. And third, it's not too much of a problem in the Japanese version of the game, but here in America, asking American English-speaking gamers to sing in Japanese is a little bit iffy. They put the lyrics on the screen in like the English characters, so and I hear that you can just like hum or blow into the microphone, but I usually get consistent results by actually trying to sing, and you only have to sing like the beginning before the music actually kicks in and you can go back to the fight. Kind of a cool idea, but it's stupid. Either way, you beat Zonda. Middle's dead. Because, Jesus Christ, they keep doing this. Jewel died in the bad ending of the first game. Middle dies in the not true ending of this one. And whether you're playing as Gunvolt or Kopen, the other one comes in. And the two of them get into an argument because Kopen still hates Gunvolt for being an adept. Because he's goddamn racist. It's a goddamn racist deal. And the two of them point their guns at each other, and that's where the normal ending ends. Credits go. But I think if you beat the game and then you do the final stage again, then you get the true ending. But that's somehow even more stupid than the first game, where you had to get the bad ending anyway, just because difficult stuff to explain. But you had to get both endings. You had to play the final stage twice. You have to do it again here, but there's no reason. Like, why not either just go straight to the true ending from your first time, or require that you beat the game as both Gunvolt and Kopen in order to unlock it? That'd be fine too. But either way, so then you fight Gunvolt or Kopen. Again, it depends. And they're a really easy fight until you beat them and you just straight kill them. Like, they explode. All that. And then Lumen comes out, Mythil sort of wakes up, is like, no, don't hurt him. And then Lola becomes her human form, and then they all start singing, and revive the person you were trying to fight in, like, their supercharged Anthem form. Which, you know, I understand, like, Jewel helping Gunvolt. I understand Middle and Loa helping Copen. But the fact that the people on your team band together to revive the person you're fighting, it's like, what the fuck, guys? This fight, it depends on who you're playing as. If you're fighting Copen, he's not too hard. He's a little challenging, but still not too hard. Copen is... Fighting Gunvolt as Copen is really fucking hard. Because he pervades every single attack you throw at him. I hear like one of the weapons can break through his pervasion, but the way I did it was wait for my super attack to charge, and that not only breaks him out of it, but deals a lot of damage. But then, you know, the downside is you have to wait for it to recharge before you can do it again. Though once you know how to, his attacks aren't that hard to dodge, so it's fine. And this is the only part of Copen's game that's hard. Like, I'm not kidding. Besides, like, a couple bottomless pits, this is the only part I died at. And that's just because Gunvolt's attacks bypass your pervasion, and you just straight take a lot of damage. But either way, you beat the other person, they, you know, they fall, they're still alive, but they're beaten. And then Middle, like, drops to the ground, she, like, drops out of her idol form. And she's like, no, don't hurt the person you're fighting, you know. And then immediately she gets amnesia. It's like, what? Who are you guys? And then Copen takes her to a hospital, which has a lot more emotional resonance in Gunvolt's story because I think I don't know if Gunvolt. I think Gunvolt's realized like this is still Jewel. Yeah, he's realized that Jewel is in there. They've reforged, and he's like, Copen, take her. You know. He's sort of distanced himself from her, I guess, now that he's realized he can go on without her. Still a little heartbreaking, because the two of them do, like, they're friends and possible romance in there, depending on how you look at it. But then, like, time passes, Middle doesn't remember anything, and Gunvolt's just completely out of her life. He's just living his own life now with Xiao and Girl. And Copen left her too, which is, god damn it, fucking let this girl have a little bit of happiness because she's an adept now, and Copen feels like he still has to continue his crusade against adepts. You know, I guess what's more important, like revenge on the person who killed your father or protecting your sister? Like, you know, they're both family, so I guess it's a conflict, whatever you want to think of it. Middle doesn't seem to mind. She outright says in the ending, like, I guess I'm happy now. You know? And then she runs in. There's an ending scene, if you're playing as Gunvolt, where she runs into him on the street, and he's like, oh, are you an angel? You know, god damn it. No, don't take cues from George Lucas. And Gunvolt says, like, no, you don't know me. Which, I mean, I guess depending on how much she remembers, you could have gotten away with saying, yeah, I was there when you woke up, whatever, from the final boss. Whatever. I guess he just sort of wanted to distance himself at all. No. You know, I guess it's a happy ending. Everyone's still alive, but come on. Guys, just let someone be fucking happy for once into Creates. Like, I thought about it. Like, into Creates games, at the very least, the Mega Man style ones, because those are the only ones I've played. Not counting Mega Man 9 and 10, because, you know, they're classic Mega Man games. What do you expect the endings to be? Besides those, unless the first ZX has a happy ending, then 03 is as happy as it got. And that's still kind of bad, because it ends with it ends with them specifically saying that the huge bad guy is still alive. No, better than the first game, where no matter what, someone is dead. You know, still. They better make a third game, not just because if they can continue this sort of streak of following the Zero series, then Gunvolt 3 would be fucking amazing. Zero 3 was so good. Do that, it'd be great. But I want to see some fucking happiness. Like, I want Copen to sort of finally realize that his crusade to kill all the adepts is fucking stupid. And, you know, be there for his sister. I want Gunvolt to also sort of be there in her life because he was important to Jewel's side of things. Mittel has the Muse now, so I imagine that's going to develop at some point into the same way that Lumen did for Jewel. And, there's potential here. The only problem is now they have to come up with a new villain and a new plot other than I want to kill all the humans so Adepts can live in peace because humans want to kill Adepts like this motherfucker in the white coat. It's your fault, Copen. It's your fucking fault. Yeah, Gunvolt 2. Damn good game. Go play it. Maybe it'll come to Steam at some point. I don't know. What are they going to do with the microphone thing there? I guess nowadays everyone has a microphone on their computer, so whatever.